The President of the Christian Lawyers Association of South Africa. Teresa received her B. Juris LLB at the University of Pretoria, where she was awarded Dux Colors with special recommendation for her contribution in the fields of leadership, academic and sports. She was admitted as an attorney in 1988 and has since been a private practice. She was a founding member of one of South Africa's first multicultural law firms and is currently the managing partner of Ruud Wessels Conradie Attorneys in Pretoria. In recent years, Teresa has been appointed on a number of occasions as an acting judge to the South African High Court. She received in 2004 Advocates Good Samaritan Award and has attended 7 advocates conferences since 1999. Her dream is to influence the next generation of leaders in Africa by establishing an institute which teaches a biblical worldview to law graduates and other leaders. Let's welcome Teresa Conradie.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Rudy. It's a bit outdated. We parted ways with Ruud Wessels a number of years ago, so the law firm's just again known as Conradie. It has its 20th birthday this year, and it's 2 decades of grace. One of the very first multiracial law firms in South Africa. Wonderful stories of empowerment, wonderful stories of hope. Now, Rudy, I'm not sure whether this has happened to some of you. When you're asked to speak on an occasion like this, you're asked for a theme. Then you're preoccupied with other things, and you actually don't give proper thought to it, and then you just shoot from the hip, and then when you start preparing, you realize you got yourself into deep, deep trouble. Yeah. So it's nearly, us women say with chocolate, it's a moment in the mouth and eternity on the hips. Now this was like a moment in my mouth, and it's been like an eternity on my shoulders and in my heart. But be that as it may, let's speak together about Napoleon's words. Now, as you said, and as your son said, really, in the 15 years that Napoleon was the leader of revolutionary France, he completely transformed Europe. While his reign was absolutely filled with conflict and upheaval, the lasting reform that his leadership brought in Europe is unprecedented. For us Christians, the most valuable thing and most valuable contribution that Napoleon made was to bring about what was called the Napoleonic Code, which allowed for freedom of religion and which made civil law more accessible to ordinary citizens. Of course, it was part of the French Revolution. Now, this code included, for those of you who are legally minded, it included elements of civil procedure, of criminal procedure, commercial and military code. To a large extent, the Napoleonic Code established the rule of law as we know it today. But Napoleon was, as you said, not just one of the most celebrated leaders in history, but also one of the most controversial ones. And I'm certainly not intending to use his leadership style as the ultimate example of good leadership, but his definition of a leader must not escape our attention. Now, as a woman in the 21st century, the fact which should least impress me about the Napoleonic Code is that it established the supremacy of man over wife and children, which was the general legal situation at the time. A woman was given even fewer rights than a minor. So it could really be said that Napoleon was not handing out much hope to women. But on the other hand, I'm prepared to give poor Napoleon the benefit of the doubt. He's a man, he can't multitask. He can't be expected to make war and think about women's rights at the same time. But over the centuries, much has been written about leadership. And if one looks at politics, countries stand and fall by the quality of leadership. And for the 18 years that I've been involved in Africa, with Christian lawyers in Africa, it's been the constant lamentation that Africans' problems are directly contributable to the quality of leadership. Now, I'm not going to be brave enough to try and give you some kind of an exposition on leadership over the next hour, but what I do know is that our country, the continent, and perhaps the whole world is currently in a leadership crisis. I know people that have their phones on an app that immediately gives them breaking news. And in a single day you would have 3 or 4 pieces of breaking news from North Korea, from Donald Trump, from our own president, etc., etc., all displaying what they are doing with responsibilities that they have as leaders. Now, before we start speaking about leadership, or about hope at least, let's look what type of leadership choices do we have today. Now, for those sitting at the back, I'm just going to read this out. Nolan, Mary Ann Allfriend, faced with the prospect of voting for either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, Mary Ann Nolan of Richmond chose instead to pass into the eternal love of God on Sunday, May the 15th, 2016. What's waiting for us? What is waiting for us at the ANC's elective conference in December 2017 and everything leading up to it? Now let's ask ourselves, what is a dealer? In the simplest form, a dealer is a trader. Somebody who buys and sells or exchanges. A dealer is not a Father Christmas. And Napoleon knew that. He knew, I give you hope and you give me something in exchange. So we can know that the purchaser or the follower can expect hope as the commodity which is sold to him or her, and the leader can expect something in return. Now, throughout this whole next hour that we'll spend together, I want you to ask yourself, what are your own motives for giving hope? What is your station's motive for giving hope? Do you want to give hope so that you can get advertisers? Do you want to get hope so that you can get a profile? Why are you giving hope? So there are a whole lot of payment options here. They can be admiration, they can be support, they can be loyalty, even your vote. Ask yourself in this coming year, why is this leader giving me hope? Is this real hope? Is this hope with a substance? Or is it an empty expectation that they are holding in front of them? Now, if leadership is a difficult concept to define, hope is even more difficult. Now, one of my favorite research works is called The New Bible Dictionary, published in 1962. Amongst others, says the following: hope, it would seem, is a psychological necessity. If man is to envisage a future at all, Even if there are no rational grounds for it, man still continues to hope. Very naturally, such hope, even when justified, seems transient and illusionary. It's remarkable how often it's qualified by poets and other writers as feeble, desperate, or faint. The New Bible Dictionary goes on to say the majority of secular thinkers in the ancient world did not regard hope as a virtue, but simply as a temporary illusion. Well, now I've really got you nice and depressed. All of this is just smoke and mirrors. What is the difference? The difference is that the King is on the throne. Jesus Christ died on the cross. And therefore our hope is not just a temporary illusion. We know God's promises. We know what He has got in mind for it. Now, I want to give you an example, and Josh did a good job of saying what hope was. But I asked two friends that I know really quite well to tell me what they regard as hope. The one is Yolanda Kilkie. Now, those of you that can remember in 2014, for the best part of 2013, Yolanda herself was in captivity in Yemen with her husband Pierre, and then when there was a rescue attempt, Pierre got killed by the US military. So Yolanda, I said to her, Yolanda, in those many days, Pierre was in captivity in the end for 558 days. I said to her, while you were in captivity, what on earth gave you hope? And she wrote the following for me. Captivity was a furnace that severely tested us. Life, as we knew it, ceased to exist, and every minute became a battle. Would we live to see the sun coming up? Where were our children? Was this ever going to end? While the fire of captivity burned our false securities to the ground, we had to learn a couple of things about ourselves and about faith. We learned that hope was nothing about dreaming for a positive or prosperous outcome on earth, and neither was it a fluffy emotion that had to make us feel better. Hope was not about hoping for the best. What Pierre and I needed was fuel to drive us to live through every minute of the 558 days. Hope became the food that nourished us to keep the faith and run the race till we reached that finish line. And when we reached that line, and the story did not end as we had imagined or desired, hope was able to make us overcome the seemingly negative outcome. And it continues to help me every day to see things from an eternal perspective. Many people ask me why I wrote the book after Pierre was killed. I realized that our captivity was a unique experience and that few people will ever go through anything similar. But I do know that there's also something universal in our experience that many people can relate to. Trauma, life-threatening diseases, or death of our loved ones can rob us of our faith and of our hope. Through our story, I believe the lessons that we learned from the Lord can restore hope to those who are hurting. We all need to have hope rekindled if we are to face the journey that we are on. We all need hope to see us through this world in which Jesus Himself said that there are many troubles. We can take heart because He has overcome the world. And hope, I believe, is not a vision fit for earth, but for eternity. The other friend, Annelie Groenewald, you would know just a week before Pierre was killed, Annelie Groenewald's whole family, Werner, Jean-Pierre and Ruday were killed by the Taliban in Kabul in Afghanistan. I travelled to Istanbul to go and fetch Henri, and I stood with her and assisted her to repatriate the bodies of her family out of Afghanistan. When I asked Henri to write something for me, well, first of all, I expected, when I met her in Istanbul, she was still wearing exactly the same clothes that she had, because their whole house had been burnt. You can see the picture at the right-hand bottom side. I was expecting her to absolutely be devastated. And obviously, she was to an extent. But her first words to me is, "I'm so jealous." Werner and Rodé and Jean-Pierre have now become the martyrs, those who cry from under the altar, those that will be dressed in white robes. I also wanted to be one of them. And I understood that Henri has got her eyes on the eternal glory, like Stephen had when he was being stoned. He picked up his eyes and he looked into the heavens. So Henri writes, "In times of tragedy, hope does not need to be extinguished, because hope and faith go hand in hand. 2,000 years ago, the one in whom we believe was victorious over all forms of tragedy. Jesus Christ remains our hope, and the Holy Spirit is there to give us comfort and strength until Jesus comes to fetch us." Now, there are a number of leaders in recent history who have managed to impart hope. And they've not only spoken hope, but they've created it through their lives and through their conduct. So as I give you these examples, I want you to think about what were the characteristics in that person's life, or what are the characteristics in that person's life that generates hope. So the first one is Nelson Mandela. He said, "May your choices reflect your hopes and not your fears." Think about Nelson Mandela. He chose to forgive not because he feared the political opposition, but he knew if he didn't forgive, there was no hope for a peaceful South Africa. He chose to allow the South African rugby team to play with the Springbok logo, not because he was scared of the reaction of the white community, but because he knew that, and he had a hope that the nation can unite behind our rugby team in the World Cup in 1995. He chose to disclose that his son had died of AIDS, not because he was scared that the truth will come out one day, but because he hoped that he will be able to achieve a better dispensation for people with HIV infection. In the court case of Louis Lake, the Sarfo case, where he was subpoenaed to be a witness, and certainly as a head of state, he could refuse to do that. Pierre de Vos, the constitutional law expert, writes, "Despite being the president of the country, and despite being Mandela, he agreed to testify and to be subjected to cross-examination without any fanfare. He was not scared of doing that. He was hoping that his example will serve to inspire other leaders." Mother Teresa, she says, "Loneliness and the feeling of being unwanted is the most terrible poverty. Do not wait for leaders, do it alone, person to person." Up there with a photograph, we want to create hope for a person. We must give hope, always hope. Simply by giving hope, she was a leader in her own right. She didn't wait for other leaders. Mahatma Gandhi, he says, "Only he can be a leader who never loses hope." You can only be a leader if you do not run out of hope. You can only impart hope if you've got something left in your reserve tank. He also says, what is true of the individual will be tomorrow true of the whole nation. Think in our own context. What is true of the individuals, the lawlessness has become true of the whole nation. The opposite can be true. What is true of the individual will be tomorrow true of the whole nation if individuals will but refuse to lose heart and hope. Martin Luther King Jr. Now those of you that know the civil rights movement would know that he was a Baptist pastor, and he says, let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I still have a dream. This is our hope, and I'll very quickly read a part of his I have a dream speech. And this is the faith that I go back to the south with. But he says, but I have Jesus, so I have hope. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Few paragraphs out of his speech. I have a dream, and even so, though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It's a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with a heart of injustice, sweltering with a heart of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged on the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope, and this is the faith which I go back with to the sun. A whole generation of African Americans picked up their heads. A whole generation of African Americans started to aspire, started to dream with Martin Luther King. I so wish that he would have been alive when President Obama was inaugurated as the President of the United States. For all his shortcomings, President Obama understands hope. He understands. You can remember his motto in his first campaign, yes we can, yes we can, giving Americans hope in their own ability, in the greatness of their own country. Tilly Madonsela, in 2014, Time magazine, one of its 100 most influential people in the world. And Tilly says, at times we have to stand alone with only hope as our companion. If you stand for truth and do so long enough, hope does eventually pay. We step out in hope that a better world is possible because of our love for peace and faith in humanity's capacity to make better choices. Why were people saying Tuli for president? Why were people prepared to stand by her no matter what the criticism? Because Tuli Madonsela was a generator of hope. Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng, he's a very good friend of mine, and personally has always given me so much hope. Shortly after he got elected and sworn in as the Chief Justice of South Africa, there was an individual in Cape Town who did his absolute best to try and have Chief Justice impeached. He actually brought a complaint to the Judicial Services Commission, and we pray with the Chief Justice about once a month, and I arrived there with the other two people who pray with us, and I said, Chief Justice, you must be really despondent and in despair with this continuous battle that this man is raging against. And Chief Justice looked at me as if I'd lost my mind. He said, why must I do that? He says, if the Lord God Almighty wants me to be the Chief Justice of this country, neither X nor anybody else will be able to remove me. He says, and if the Lord God Almighty does not want me to be the Chief Justice of this country anymore, nobody will prevent him from removing me. And I just took courage. So very recently he was elected as the President of the Conference of Constitutional Jurisdictions of Africa. So he is now the Chief Justice of Africa, if I could call him that. And he says to the judges of Africa, judges must be men and women of integrity, playing a crucial role in eradicating corruption. This can only be achieved if judges are not corrupt. Governments can pose a threat to the judiciary, and judges should be willing to die for the ideal of an independent judiciary and rule of law. What does he do by saying that? And because I know him, I know that there is nothing false about what he is saying. He is not trying to score brownie points. What he is doing, he is bringing hope to a whole continent that the rule of law will be defended by the judiciary of the countries, 34 of them in this. Robin Gordon. Sorry, I'm not sure that you can read this. He has become somewhat of a hero in South Africa. He says, we have to confront certain truths, if you like, or certain objective facts and say, how do we deal with that? Only a few days ago, on the 4th of May, after he'd been fired, after he'd been bad-mouthed, he says the following: there is still hope that both the organization and the country can self-correct or be corrected by its own people. Saying to the people, the hope is there. We have hope that we can achieve the aspirations in the Freedom Charter and the National Development Plan. A friend of mine, Justice Mike Chibita, he is the Director of Public Prosecutions in Uganda, grew up as a child, family members murdered by Idi Amin. And if you think our Directorate of Public Prosecutions is in a bit of a fix, you don't know how bad it is in some other jurisdictions in Africa. To the extent that everybody expected that when Mike was appointed and he was unanimously elected by the Parliament, that he was going to turn just as corrupt. In the meantime, he has faced tremendous challenges. Amongst others, his deputy was killed, a lady. She was killed by gunmen driving past her car on a motorcycle. They were not sure whether it was to remove her from a very large corruption case that she was busy with, or whether it was to remove her from the criminal case of the Al-Shabaab members who murdered the people during the World Cup while they were watching soccer in Kampala. So last week I said to Mike, write a little sentence for me about hope. And he writes the following: it gives me hope to meet people across the world who are doing the things they do because of their value system. Amidst very serious challenges and opposition, they keep doing what is right. Now, Josh, where are you? Yeah, you are right in front of me. This one is especially for you. Lucy Uchi. She is a farm girl from Kenya. Through a difficult legal battle, she's just become the first person of African descent to sit in Australia's Senate. And she says the following: I'm so humbled to give that hope because the African girl is still here, still going. Now, if you think of all the examples that I've given you, what are the common characteristics? Courage, faith, integrity, tenacity, unselfishness, compassion and care for others. Those are not false values. Those are not trivial values. Those are values that have got substance. And because they have substance, what they generate is real hope, not false hope. Now, I was hoping that as this conference continues, that there will be many people quoting the verses of hope. Hope when you wait upon the Lord, hope when you fear the Lord, etc., etc. And I wanted to refer you to the two pieces of scripture that refer to what happens if somebody does not have hope. The one is Proverbs 13, verse 12. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. The second one, Job 6:8. So the poor have hope, and then injustice shuts its mouth. Read that one very carefully. The poor have hope, and then injustice shuts its mouth. I was once felt so guilty. Baroness Caroline Cox, the Deputy Speaker in the House of Lords in England, she's for many, many years really had a passion for the Sudan. And before the South Sudan became independent, she used to, at the drop of a hat, take her backpack and travel to South Sudan and go and visit the places where absolute devastation has happened. And she told me this story. She says she arrived in this village in the southern part of Sudan. And during the night, the northern part of Sudan, there had been bombs dropped. And the whole village had burned. And this man was sitting there on his own. His whole family had been killed. And it had not been the first time that his village had been put through this type of trauma. And Baroness Cox arrived there and she said to him, what I can't understand is how do you manage to continue? And he said, I manage to continue because I know that the whole world is praying for us. He was believing that you and I were praying for them, and we were not praying for them. So let us not be guilty of that. Finally, folks, I want to ask you, are you a dealer in hope, real hope? What are you expecting in return? Do you and your station have the following characteristics, or are you just producing material that's giving shallow hope? You know, it's one of those things that us Christians can do so easily. We can make it sound as if it was honey dripping from the cross and not blood dripping from the cross. Are we realistic? Are we real? Are we truthful? Is there substance to what we are producing from our stations? Is that really giving hope? Do we have courage? Are we prepared to host a debate, which is unpopular, which is difficult? I'll speak about that tomorrow again when we speak about hate speech. Am I prepared? Do I really have faith? Or is fear actually overwhelming me in my decisions as to what the content is that I'm bringing? Integrity. Are we truthful? Are we really truthful? Or do we use this shallow comfort without really being truthful? Do we have tenacity? Can we stay the way? Can we end well? Or do we give up in our stations just when we pick up the first financial hiccup? When ICASA just gives us a little bit of trouble, do we give up? And all your listeners lose hope because you have lost hope. Are we unselfish? Are we really prepared to make a personal commitment to serve others? And in all of that, Advocates International, the organization of which I now serve as Deputy President, our motto is justice with compassion. Is there really compassion in what you're doing? We can so easily say, ach, sis toch toe maar. But are we really concerned about the fact that more than 100 patients died during the Life Isidamedi tragedy? Can I ask you, without putting up your hand, who have you covered that? Who have you investigated that? Can I ask you whether you have any compassion with the foreigners that get killed in our townships just because they're from Somalia, or from Ethiopia, or from Libya? Are we as broadcasters, are we as media, are we addressing it with a biblical truth? The biblical truth is that God said to us, you yourselves were allies, aliens in Egypt. Are we just closing our eyes for that and broadcasting the easy things that make people feel nice, warm and comfortable in their safe houses in the eastern side of Pretoria, where their children go to good schools and where there is a prospect of jobs for them? Folks, I really want to challenge you and ask you to investigate what you're doing at your station, and ask yourself whether you are a dealer in hope, whether you are dispensing hope, real hope, with the right motive. And what is your motive? Your motive is to glorify God. Your motive is to create a new South Africa where people can live in peace and in prosperity, to create a place where children are safe, to create a space where older people are safe, to create a space where foreigners are safe. Is that the hope that you are broadcasting? My prayer for each one of you, and I've been part of the ICASA battles, that each one of you will have the grace and the provision to keep on broadcasting the good news of Jesus Christ and the kingdom of agenda of God. Thank you.